Hey, Science 20s, we're going to pick up right where we left off. This is lesson 3 of biology. We're going to talk a little bit about food webs and some other related food ideas. So, food webs are a more accurate representation of what's going on than a food chain because most animals eat more than a single thing. Like, for example, fish are eaten by a whole bunch of different things. You can't have the penguin above the fish and the leopard seal above the fish because then where are you going to put the birds? So while it looks like a big mess, well, it looks like a giant, huge mess, wherever the arrows go, that's where the energy goes in a food web. Okay, so you follow the arrow, you follow the energy. And every animal that the arrow hops through, you lose most of the energy in the previous level. That's why, like, orca whales in a ecosystem in the ocean are always in such small numbers because they get their diminishing returns of energy from their food. So here's an example. Which organism in this food web has the most energy? So which organism has the most energy? And that would be the wildflowers or the grass. The first trophic level has the most energy. Which organisms are categorized as primary consumers? Okay, the primary consumers are one step above the producers. So that would be the rabbit or the mouse. They're one step away from the autotrophs, the plants. What would happen if the rabbit population were suddenly to decrease? Well, what would happen? Well, if there were no more rabbits or the rabbits went away, obviously the things that ate them, especially the hawk and the snake, they would go down. But also, without having the rabbit around, there would be more food for the mouse. So it's really tough to wrap our heads around what would actually occur. If the rabbits went down and there was more food for the mice, maybe that would support the hawk and the snake population. We don't know. But definitely there would be more food. The thing that we know for sure is there would be more wildflowers and more grass to start with. And then probably less predators. So it'd be kind of like a cascade effect. What would happen if the hawk population were to decrease? Well, the hawks eat the rabbit, the mouse, and the snakes. Now the snakes eat the rabbit and the mouse. So if there were no more hawks, probably the snake levels would go up, which is terrifying if you don't like snakes. And there would probably be more rabbits and mice because there's less predators. What would happen if all of the producers were wiped out by pesticides? Well, that would be the death of the food chain, the food web. This food web would cease to exist because if you remove the autotrophs, you have no more trophic levels. They all dead. Now, how energy moves through the food web or food chain, there's a special term for that if we're talking about things that isn't energy. It's called bioaccumulation. Now, bioaccumulation is where poisons or toxins are in the food web, but because every animal that eats along the levels has to get more and more food from the lower level, that poison becomes concentrated in the animal. Mercury is a really good example of that. Like a little bit of mercury is not going to hurt the krill, but once it gets to the bigger fish that feed on other fish, which feed on the krill, the mercury levels in those fish can be really high and probably kill the fish. And then if humans eat the fish, it's really bad for us. So bioaccumulation is the buildup of toxins in the tissue of organisms from food chain or food web interactions. Okay, so just one more time, large predators will probably have the higher concentrations of toxins. And guess who are the top level predators in any food web? What has two thumbs and is pointing at me that you can't see? That's right, a human. So humans are really susceptible to bioaccumulation because we eat everything, and especially if we eat animals that are predators themselves, that's a huge risk. If all we eat is tofu, probably there's less risk. But if we eat fish or if we eat other big animals that are predators like bears or cougars, there's a greater chance of toxins getting to us too. This video, I'm gonna post this in the notes so you guys can watch this a little later. Okay, I'm going to end with ecological pyramids. That's the last slide today, because you guys are going to be working on a project this week where you're designing your own food web. It's actually the first drawing assignment where you can take a picture of it. Now, there's a whole rubric that goes with it. Okay, so just to recap, a pyramid organizes the trophic levels according to energy. Now, that's the common type, the energy ecological pyramid, because there'll be less energy at the top. There are two other types of pyramids we're going to look at tomorrow, which are a pyramid of numbers of animals and a pyramid of biomass. And that organization of animals in these different types of pyramids is really fascinating. This right here, this pyramid that's on the slide, I don't know, I can't draw on this, I'm sorry. That's an energy pyramid where it looks like a traditional pyramid. There's less energy at the top, there's more energy at the bottom. Now, that is not always the case for the other types of pyramids. All right, that's the end of today's lesson. You'll notice in today's lesson links, there's your first assignment, and that's in biology that you're going to hand in. So that'll be on Floop, and it's a drawing assignment. You have to draw and label some stuff. So hopefully that's, we're in the last unit is a little bit easier, right? There's lots of terms you have to know, but you don't have to do as much math. Okay, have at her, guys.